In 1956, a Chinese man from a remote province disappeared in his sleep and was found hundreds of miles away the next morning. As bizarre this incident was for the time, with no adequate transport mechanism and modern comforts, what mysterious events that unfolded next shocked and baffled the people, to an extent that the military and the Communist government of China became involved in investigating this case. The incident became one of the most baffling and inexplicable cases in the history of China, and consequently the whole world. Join us today as we delve into the strange case of Huang Yanqiu, who became a topic of widespread discussion and bewilderment for years to come, and is a topic of speculation even to this day. I am David McCoy, and before we dive into today's story, if you like and are into the supernatural, the paranormal, the strange and dark phenomenons from around the world, you are at the right place. At Dark Turf, we delve deep into and investigate the mysterious occurrences from around the globe and try to understand what they really are. If it sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification icon so you don't miss any episode. Also, you can join us on social media networks and become an important part of the community. The links are given below in the description. That being said, let's dive into today's story. Back in 1956, Huang Yanqiu was born in Hubei, a northern Chinese province near Beijing, and in the rural agricultural village of Dongbaigao. The remote village comprised of peasants and farmers, as was the usual practice and the way of life adopted by the people, with no adequate and substantial comforts that included an absence of proper transport and communication. It was right after the aftermath of the Cultural Revolution under the communist leader Mao Zedong, where people were subjected to the strict and often harsh dictum of the People's Liberation Army, propagating the doctrine of the Red Book. Huang was born to a family of farmers. A life of hardship was in store for him as he lost his mother in his early childhood years. And as destined for him, he started his life as an obscure farmer, wherein he passed from his childhood stages to a young man of around 21. During this time, he planned to get married to his girlfriend and wanted to start his own small family. After engagement with his fiancée, with whose aid Huang began to construct his own house. Working hard in the construction of his house, it was clear that Huang intended to live a simple and ordinary life of a village peasant with his own family. But destiny seemed to have a completely different plan for him that was soon to bound to amaze and mystify all the villagers, and subsequently the whole of China and the world at large, as unraveled by the unprecedented events that started shortly after. On the 27th of July, 1977, after a hard and tiring day of work, Huang went to bed at around 10 p.m. at his incomplete house. The next morning, that was on the 28th of July, 1977, everyone reported for work where Huang too was expected. But surprisingly, and to his unusual nature, Huang was absent from work. After a while, those acquainted with him became aware of this and questions were asked as to the whereabouts of Huang. This news soon reached his family members as they tried to figure out where Huang had gone without informing anyone. They asked and searched for him in the area, but Huang was untraceable. Subsequently, his absence was reported to the authorities, and a search began to find him. As hours went by, the ambit of the search was widened beyond the boundaries of the village to the surrounding farms and the forest. Even the hospitals and the police from surrounding areas were contacted to inquire whether any recent record of missing persons were kept there. But to utter amazement of the villagers, and to the poignant and deep distress of his fiancée and his family, Huang was nowhere to be found. He simply had vanished into thin air. After a gap of a few days, it was the 6th of August, when the mayor received a telegram stating that Huang was in a state of sleep or hypnosis and was found in the city of Nanjing, the capital city of Jiangsu province, which was about 780 kilometers away from the village. This was quite intriguing as to how this man traveled such a long distance in such a short amount of time. That is, within a few hours, as he went to bed at around 10 p.m. the previous night, and was found in Nanjing the next early morning. A point to be noted here is that Huang's village, Dongbaigao, was in a remote province and was deprived of proper transport systems. And as a matter of fact, the date and time on the telegram was 9 a.m. on the 28th of July, right on the morning Huang was found to be missing. It was discovered that the reason the same took almost 10 days to reach the village was because the telegram had been wrongly addressed to another village. The telegram further informed that Huang was being held up by the police, and they wanted the villagers to come and pick him up. Later, Huang was brought back home safe and sound, but then there were tons of questions that he was subjected to, as how had he transported himself with such a speed to the big city? How had he managed this in the remote province without any proper transport mechanism? It is to be further noted that Huang, who only had a primary education without enough money, had achieved this impossible feat for that time where it would normally have taken a person days of hazardous travel to reach that destination. Was he possessed by something? Or was it a paranormal activity enacted by a power beyond the comprehension of simple village folks? Everyone was dumbfounded, or rather terrorized by this incident. After being subjected to a barrage of questions, Huang's explanation was that on the morning of 28th of July, at about 7 a.m., he was awakened by loud noises completely alien to him, and as he opened his eyes, he found himself lying in the sidewalk with a great number of people roaming around. Lots of cars, a great deal of bright signboards that read Nanjing Shopping Center, restaurants, medical stores, and so on. He was shocked with disbelief. And it was then as Huang recounted that he was held by 2 police officers, and knowing that he was lost, handed him a train ticket to the city of Shanghai. After a journey lasting 4 hours, he recounted that the same 2 policemen were waiting for him at the Shanghai railway station. They then took him to a rehabilitation center. He further recounted being surprised that the 2 policemen who did not board the train to Shanghai with him had already arrived at the station before he did. How would this have been possible, as this train was the fastest mode of transport between the 2 cities? But there were critics who doubted Huang and maintained that he was a liar and that he was fabricating all these stories to gain cheap popularity. But the facts seemed to be on the heavier side, as Huang was in Nanjing and later in Shanghai, from where the village mayor had received the telegram. In spite of all this, Huang was now back home and amongst his people, where he resumed his livelihood and daily routine as usual, with the incident of the 28th of July as a dark and distant, or rather a fascinating memory. But fate had much more in store for him, as can be seen and understood from what happened in the aftermath. On the night of September 9, 1977, Huang found himself shivering with cold at around 2 a.m. in a quiet and deserted railway station. There was heavy rain and a raging thunderstorm outside. Alone, a sense of great fright and confusion overtook him as on the previous night of the 8th of September. He had retired after the day's hard work with other co-workers assigned to duty by the Red Army cadres. Here, in the deserted station, he was approached by two soldiers who told him that he was in Shanghai, and they were assigned to fetch him to the Lu's artillery division of the Pudong district. Therein, where after reaching their destination, Huang was handed over to the family of Lu, inside the military base. As Lu wasn't home at that time, Lu's family later recalled in an interview that they were quite shocked as to how the three men had got in without any verification, where one was required to go through strict identity checks when entering in. Lu's son also said that the two men in uniform were a bit odd-looking, as their uniforms were ill-fitting and seemed to have been borrowed. And as they left Huang and left, they weren't seen again. This time, another telegram was sent to the village, but with concerning questions related to Huang. They wanted to know his background, if he was a spy, or whether he could pose a threat to security. They received a reply from the village head stating that he was just a simple and an immaculate farmer. Without much information on him, arrangements were made to return him to his village after due security protocols were completed. This incident too became widespreadly discussed and went up to the extent of the police and security personnel questioning him as a security threat to the locality after his return on the 11th of September. Once again, Huang began to live in his village immersed into his daily chores. But now, he was regarded as a person of unsound bearings and as a center of curiosity and suspicion. The third time, Huang disappeared on the 20th of September 1977. It was only on the 8th day that he was relocated under a jujube tree in the village. This time around, Huang would find some answers to his mysterious disappearance and bizarre occurrences, which would sound even more perplexing. Afterwards, he recounted what had happened. As per Huang, on the 20th of September 1977, after the day's work was over and as he was on his way home, he felt lightheaded and passed out due to exhaustion near his house. When he came to his senses, he found that he was in a bed in an expensive hotel room, with the two men present there, whom he later came to know as Gao Dengmin and Gao Yanjin. They informed him that they were responsible for his disappearances, and now he was in Lanzhou in the Gansu province, and for the next 9 days they had something special planned for him. Over the next few days, the two men would ask Huang to climb on their back and at great speed, was taken to 9 cities including Beijing, together with watching a movie in the Grand Theater, where they entered without a valid ticket. As during this time China was governed by a dictatorial, communist regime, and every citizen was required to possess a registered ID card. But in this case, Huang noticed that a provincial-level introduction letter sufficed for them. Huang also noticed that the brothers could speak in local dialects in whichever province they were in. Huang said that apart from their strange abilities, they seemed to be normal human beings, eating and sleeping as one. The only things Huang was not allowed to do through their trip was to photograph them or keep any souvenirs from their trip. Huang also tried asking where had they learnt the ability to fly, but the brothers would keep silent and would not respond to this question. Huang too was interested in knowing if he also could learn the skill of flying like them. To this, the brothers would respond with an impervious no. Huang said that after the fascinating journey flying great distances with the two men, Huang was returned to the hotel room in Lanzhou where he went to sleep, and after awakening, he found himself sleeping under the jujube tree in his village. Is the unprecedented events that took place from the 27th of July to the 11th of September 1977 in the life of Huang Yanqiu, a proof of existence of a higher level of reality that is beyond the grasp and understanding of us humans, that even our modern science is yet to fully analyze and understand. Skeptics have said that Huang's story is not true and he fabricated it to gain popularity. But why would a man living in hardship in this remote village risk it all to gain popularity? Instead, after these incidents, as the Chinese communist regime was very strict, with stringent codes of conduct for its citizens, any anomalies or any abnormal behavior would lead to suspicion and severe scrutiny from the government, which would consequently make the already hard life of a person even harder. When the incident came into notice of the authorities in and around the village, Huang became the subject of questioning and rigorous investigation from the nearest military installation and propaganda department. He was extensively interrogated, but later, they found that Huang did not show any signs of cognitive disorder or any mental illness, and was found to be normal. They could not find any evidence or determine Huang to be a threat to security, and hesitantly let him go. On the other hand, Huang only became a subject of ridicule and a laughingstock for the villagers. He almost became an outcast of the society. Why would a poorly educated man from a remote village fabricate such a story, just to be ridiculed and to become an outcast of the society? Some have also suggested that Huang was a part of a military experiment and that the Gao brothers were secret assets of the military. But during the time, there were a lot of death row inmates who could have been selected for various experiments. Why would they select an innocent and bland man from this isolated village? Other skeptics say that Huang actually could have slipped out in the night and taken an airplane to the city. But at that time, aviation industry was very new to China and was a highly expensive transport mechanism at the time. And there were only a few airports in China, none nearby the isolated village of Dongbaigao. Whatever the explanation may be, the Huang Yanqiu incident remains one of the most infamous mystery and unsolved case in the history of China. As of now, 68-year-old Huang has settled on to living a quiet and tranquil life in his village. Is this incident an example indicating that the three-dimensional universe our conscious mind can conceive is not the only limitation that we can see, feel, and study? Is it that right from the level of micro to that of the macrocosmos holds innumerable level of existence that is far beyond our normal perception and still needs to be explored, studied, and understood? Maybe, in the coming future, humans' quest for knowledge will be able to decode and decipher these mysterious occurrences. But until that day, this incident will continue to baffle and mystify us humans, sowing a seed of uncertainty to our understanding of the world, the vast cosmos, and its dynamism. What do you think about this mysterious incident? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. If you like what we do and want us to continue bringing more of these stories, then please let us know by showing your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Also, don't forget to hit and activate the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episode. Also, consider joining us on social media platforms and be an integral part of the community. Until then, take care.